Fear is the path to the dark side.
Hi, this is Senator Barack Obama. Tomorrow, Saturday, February 10th, from Springfield, Illinois, we begin a great journey. A journey to take our country back and fundamentally change the nature of our politics. I know a lot of you are cynical about the possibilities of that change. Sometimes it seems as if the game is fixed, and it only works for the few and the powerful. But I fundamentally believe there's another brand of politics, another possibility, a possibility that all of us re-engage, awaken, pay attention, and as a consequence of that, we end up having an impact in terms of the policies that make a difference. Here's the thing, it can only happen if you get involved.
In the absence of these reforms, grievances have built up over time.
And you can see these pent-up frustrations that are being displayed on the streets. My main hope right now is that violence is not the answer in solving these problems. So the government has to be careful about not resorting to violence, and the people on the streets have to be careful about not resorting to violence. And I think that it is very important that people have mechanisms in order to express legitimate grievances. As I said in my State of the Union speech, there's certain core values that we believe in as Americans that we believe are universal. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. People being able to use social networking or any other mechanisms to communicate with each other and express their concerns. And that, I think, is no less true in the Arab world than it is here in the United States.
All governments must maintain power through consent, not coercion.
When folks were saying, we're going to march for our freedom, somebody said, you can't do that. And they did it. When somebody said, don't stir up trouble, we can't do that. We did it. Yes, we can. Don't tell me I can't do something. Because they would have said it can't happen, but it was happening.
Now, one of Clinton's laws of politics is this. If one candidate's trying to scare you and the other one's trying to get you to think, if one candidate's appealing to your fears and the other one's appealing to your hopes, you better vote for the person who wants you to think and hope. That's the bet.
With respect to Private Manning, I have actually asked the Pentagon whether or not the procedures that have been taken in terms of his confinement are appropriate and are meeting our basic standards. They assure me that they are. I can't go into details about some of their concerns, but some of this has to do with Private Manning's safety as well. I think I gave you an answer to the substantive issue.
Well, there are concerns about what is happening, but a strong argument is being made that they're trying to preserve his safety. They don't want him harming himself and using his own clothing to hang himself or do something like that. That's happened in prison before. I think it is possible to protect him, I think, and there are some legitimate reasons to believe that that may be true also. But I think that a lot of people are now reviewing this very, very closely. People have weighed in, myself included. I think that analyses are being made.
Does the Constitution mean what it says, or can politicians write any law, detain any person, and punish any person for a crime before he's been brought to trial? Tonight, Private Bradley Manning and patriotism. Army First Class Private Bradley Manning is accused of 22 crimes by the federal government. Among these is aiding the enemy. Essentially, the government claims that Private Manning accepted classified material from a government computer and gave it to WikiLeaks, which published it to the world. One of the charges against the private carries the death penalty. The last time the government administered the death penalty for aiding the enemy was during the Red Scare of the 1950s, when the feds executed Julius and Ethel Rosenberg for giving the Russians nuclear secrets that a Supreme Court justice said the Russians already had. Some say, with the recent hearings on Muslim radicalization in the House of Representatives, that we might be re-entering those McCarthyite days where people were dragged before Congress and questioned about their loyalty to the government and compelled to explain their values. Some say that it can't happen here. But of course it has happened here. And it wasn't just communists singled out for their motives. It was the anti-New Deal free market libertarians in the 30s and 40s as well, who were demonized by FDR and the Democrats in congressional hearings for, quote, flooding the country with propaganda aimed at undermining the Marshall Plan, rent control, federal aid to education, and Social Security, unquote. In Private Manning's case, the government concedes that while it was embarrassed by what he stole and leaked, no one mentioned in the leaked documents was killed or harmed. In fact, the dictator of Tunisia was toppled when some of the secrets about him were revealed. And yet, despite the fact that a core Western value of freedom, one codified into American law and never deviated from, is that defendants are innocent until proven guilty, many in the United States have turned a blind eye to the treatment of Private Manning. He has been repeatedly forced to strip naked and sleep naked and stand naked at attention for hours in the presence of his guards and other prisoners. He's awakened by the guards every hour during the night. This is an American citizen on American soil in an American jail who has not been convicted of any crime. This is simply an outrage and profoundly offensive to our system of law. It's a dishonor on the military, whose job it is to protect the liberties of each and every one of us. In the United States, we have a system of justice that punishes only after conviction. Before the years when the feds took over everything, it was understood that a perfect system of justice could not be achieved. Rather, it was accepted that sometimes the guilty would go free, but the innocent would never be wrongly convicted or punished. That is the philosophy of a tolerant, fair, and free society. Sadly today, neocon Republicans and Social Democrats have replaced our values with a system whereby punitive measures can be meted out before a person reaches trial. Because they so dislike weak WikiLeaks, and because they so love war, they hate this defendant, and they condone his subtle torture because they think he deserves what he is getting. They have rejected the whole purpose of the Bill of Rights, which is to protect the rights of even those we hate. I reject the flimsy patriotism of those who blindly submit to government authority. I accept the definition of patriotism as defined by Congressman Ron Paul, who said, quote, the true patriot is motivated by a sense of responsibility and out of self-interest for himself, his family, and the future of his country to resist government abuse of power, end quote. He and I reject the notion that patriotism means blind obedience to the government. Jefferson himself said, dissent is the highest form of patriotism. So here is my dissent. Mr. President, Private Manning is innocent until proven guilty, and he should be treated as such. And Mr. President, don't confuse embarrassment with real harm. Sometimes embarrassment leads to the truth. In the long march of history, true patriots resist the government and pursue the truth. And those who really aid the enemy betray the truth to help the government.
Because they would have said it can't happen, but it was happening.
To open up our democracy. I'll let you participate.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.